Lacy proved her loyalty. Ruth turned things around in her favor. Andrew has a new goal, and now we finally know why he's been so back and forth, cold and hot for the past 2 seasons. This is my recap of season 4, episode number 20 of Tyler Perry's Ruthless. The scene opened with Dion being disappointed that Malcolm had escaped, so he immediately began looking for Lewis. And the more that George tried to explain what had taken place before he got there, the more I saw how dense George is. George is out to lunch, okay? Clueless, absent-minded, and completely out of touch with what's considered to be the norm. Pretty much like Oliver was, okay? He told Dion not to worry about anything. The prisoners won't get far. And that's because they set bear traps all around the government's car that Malcolm was desperately trying to get to. And George suggested that Lewis stay there to watch the camp while he went out alone to see if he could catch Malcolm in the bear trap. And you know what's really surprising to me about these two characters is the fact that George just seems to be disconnected sometimes. Well, hell, all the time. And Dion seems to take solace in whatever he says, which really don't add up. That Dion follows Alise sometimes, right? Because, usually it takes more than words to convince Dion, but George did it somehow. Lacy and her red robe is still slaving away at whatever chore Elder Mother has conjured up for her. She ended up apologizing to Ruth for talking ish about her and Tally about 20 seasons ago, and Ruth forgave her. Just like that. I don't know. Everyone seemed to be a bit lax this episode for some reason. Well, everyone except the highest, that is. Ruth told her about the sandwich and the pig. I'm sorry, guys, my bad. She told her about the sandwich that Elder Mother gave her to try to kill the fake baby that she's carrying. You know, Ruth has told this lie for so long about being pregnant that I forget that she's not really pregnant. I mean, she's told a lie for so long that she's starting to convince me. And Lacy will later use this to get Ruth out of a tight spot, and we'll talk about that a little bit later. Zane ran up to the well to tell Ruth that Bridget and Elder Mother were on their way to the highest trailer to let the cat out of its proverbial bag. And as they're walking up to the trailer, Ruth is trying to come up with a plan to stop them from going in. And at the same time, Lacy is chasing this pig around the pen. She puts a chain around the poor pig's neck and took him out. She told Zane to go and tell Elder Mother that the pig was dead. And this did 2 things. Number 1, it distracted the tension that was brewing with them going on inside to see the highest. And it also put Elder Mother on alert to think twice about telling on Ruth. Then Dion pulled up and pretty much told them not to disturb the highest as he was preparing for his prophecy. Zane gave her the news all while Dion was trying to get Bridget to tell him what she wanted with the highest. And this is where things took a swift turn. Elder Mother suddenly remembered the killer sandwich that she made for Ruth and immediately turned on Bridget. She told Dion that Bridget has been lying on Ruth lately, pretty much debunking their whole little visit. She even slapped Bridget. She wanted to be sure that it was known whose side she was really on. So for now, Ruth was off the hook again, and Elder Mother tried to send Bridget to the punishment trailer, but Ruth stopped it. She stopped her right dead in her tracks, and she brought up the pig again. Ruth confronted Elder Mother and threatened to tell the highest that she tried to poison her. Ruth was like, after I finish sucking him off and whispering in his ear, I'm gonna tell him, right? Then Elder Mother called her the whore of Babylon. How appropriate, right? Andrew is sitting in the jail cell with pondering thoughts and Sheriff Conley. And the sheriff thinks that they need to just go on and tell it all. Tell everybody what has happened because he's got nothing to lose. He told Andrew that Dion offered him money and fresh cooch in order to get down with the raccoon. Then he asked Andrew if he had had any of the fresh cooch on the compound, and he told him no. I guess he forgot all about Tally and his supposed baby, that she was pregnant with. Then the sheriff told him that the days on the compound won't end well, and Andrew agreed. So he tried to convince the sheriff to join alliances with him to convince them to hold off on raiding the compound, to do it for the kids. Then suddenly Sheriff Conley stood up and he yelled that he had to go to the bathroom. So I don't know, maybe he has something up his sleeve, and I really wouldn't put it past him because, I mean, after all, the sheriff knows the jail inside and out. Lacy and Zane went to remind Bridget how stupid she was for trying to tell on Ruth, and I'm glad that these three decided to join forces to get off the compound. And we've seen this a couple of times before, with the most recent escape attempted by Lacy herself, and when Paula, Lacy, and Zane made plans to leave back in season 2, I think, and again when Lacy tried to leave with Oliver and Paula, but nothing seemed to have worked out, and now they're back at square one again. Zane shared with Ruth that Lacy killed the pig with her chains, right? And Ruth thanked her. She really appreciated Lacy looking out for her, because we have to remember that when Ruth was out in the yard talking to Lewis, she didn't know what she was going to do. So Lacy murdering the pig came right on time. So in return, Ruth agreed to help Lacy to lose the red robe, pick up a purple regular one, and to get out of those chains that had her bound. Bridget apologized to Ruth once again, and here is where we're witnessing the transferring of power. We have a few women that are in the camp, well, actually a few men too, technically, who's following Ruth, right? Following her lead, and she's gaining the power and the authority that we've all waited for her to have for a long time. Well, I know I have. And even though she knows that she can't fully trust anyone that she's working with, she's keeping everyone close so that they won't rat on her. And she knows that in order to successfully pull this all off, she's going to have some alliances who she can really control. And here we have Joan and all of her drunken tears, joined by River being nosy. He got Joan to confess to him by saying that Ruth had already told him what had happened, but she didn't. He just wanted to pump Joan for information. She told him that she didn't really want to cut Ruth and River out of the deal. She just wanted a little extra sauce on the side, right? To sweeten her pockets a little bit, so to speak. Would you have done this too? I'm just curious, because although I do understand her motives and why she did it, I mean, I get it, but to someone else, it appears that she's being greedy and trying to push them out. And Joan even threatened Ruth, right? And that's never a good idea. And she thinks that her hours on the compound are numbered. But River told her not to give up just yet, and that Ruth would eventually come around. And River is doing the same thing that Ruth is doing, right? Trying to keep everybody cool-headed and trying to keep everybody from going to tell the highest anything. We move back to the police station where we see Aaron telling his compound fire horror stories to Desiree and to Kyle. Desiree went through a lineup of photos of all the agents who got hemmed up on the compound: Brian, Andrew, and Malcolm. All Aaron wanted to do was get back to the compound to get Laura, but the FBI's still waiting on that warrant that they've been waiting on for 2 years. And I'll never understand what's taking so long to get a warrant. Like, does it take this long? But I don't know. Kyle thinks that Aaron can just call his dad to put the pressure on the judges to get the warrants issued. But Aaron's dad didn't approve of him marrying Laura, so they can pretty much count him out. And Aaron thinks that they can just call someone else to get the ball rolling, but Desiree told him because it's an election year that nobody wants their hands dirty. They really don't want to deal with the cult because there's going to be a lot of bloodshed, so they want to stay away from the controversy and the kids that could possibly be on the compound, but Aaron confirmed that he never saw any kids there. Desiree thinks that because they still have an agent up there, which is Malcolm, and that this will be enough to get them moving with the warrant that they desperately need. So hopefully this will produce that warrant. And Aaron wants to go down and talk to Andrew and the sheriff, but Kyle told him to just let them do their jobs. And in the meantime, we see Dion on his computer trying to find the model number to the safe, and that he needs to get like this temporary combination or solution on how to open the safe, because remember, Manny took the combination out of the safe when it arrived, right? And River is, of course, there to offer his assistance, and Dion refused at first, but then he called him back for assistance. They found out that the safe is obsolete, so there is no real chance that they're going to find anything online regarding any solutions on anything with it. River told him that he went to school for computers. Y'all remember, River is Mr. Everything. I did a video on it a couple years ago, and if you haven't seen it, I'll leave it linked right up above and in the comments below. And Dion has been away from the free world for, I don't know, quite some time, that he don't even have an email address. There's no way that the company for the safe can get back in touch with him to give him any type of suggestions on what to do. River got up to leave, and then he dropped the laptop on purpose, and he cracked the screen. So he and Ruth are on the same page now, because they can't trust a single soul in this little heist that they've got planned. Really can't afford to leave any loose ends either, because they're realizing that there are too many people who are knowing about what they're trying to do, and too many hands are in that pot. So back to the station, hard-headed Aaron down to that cell anyway, and he wants Andrew to tell them everything that he knows, but Andrew is still kind of salty about Aaron leaving them in that trailer the first night that he was there. He apologized to Andrew and told him that he was just trying to get his wife out of there, but Andrew warned him to try to convince the FBI not to go because there's definitely going to be bloodshed if they go. So that's two now that Andrew has on his team, Sheriff and now Aaron. And Andrew can't really talk to the FBI now because they're trying to pin Brian and Lynn's murder on him, but Andrew was really giving them a hard time at first, like when they arrested him. So I understand what his angle is, but dude was laying it on extra thick, and in his plight to trying to keep them from going, back up there, he decided not to help them at all. So now they think that he's in on it, and clearly this was Andrew's goal the entire time. So now I get it. Then Kyle caught him talking to Andrew and made him go back upstairs. River then went to give Joan the good news that he broke Daikon's computer. And she was happy about it, but her happiness was short-lived because right after that, Manny came in and told Joan that the highest wanted to see her. But River also saw that his constellation with Joan was half-baked because he uttered, "We're all gonna die," under his breath when she walked out. So Joan made it in to see the highest, and he's not happy. He told her that he was trying to meditate on his prophecy, explore the spiritual side of things, get into his Zen moment. But Joan's face kept popping up during his meditation, so he had to ask her if she was with him. And in her mousy, squeaky voice, trembling, she said, "Yes, your highest." Also, during his meditation, he saw Ruth and Joan through the window outside arguing. So he asked her about it, and she told him it was nothing, but he didn't believe her. He said that she was lying and that she was going to the punishment trailer. And Joan, she's standing up there folding like a piece of paper, stuttering, shivering, can't stand still. And she kept asking him, "Is there anything that I can do for you, your highest?" And Joan tends to ask him that a lot, right? Joan wants some so bad. Like, I can't with her. And before Ruth came to the trailer, well, she was on her way, he gave her a chance to tell the truth again, but she still lied. So he just said, okay. Then in our final scene, we see Malcolm frolicking through the woods, running out of breath. Sounds like he caught asthma from all that dope that the highest shot at his arm. I don't know. Did he catch? You can't catch asthma. I don't think so. But anyway, he stopped at the tree to get a little rest, and then he started back running. His foot got caught in this bear trap that George was talking about. George and Lewis set it all up, and down he went. Then George ran over to him and held him at gunpoint, and he asked him what he was doing out there. And before Malcolm could answer, he pulled the trigger, and then the gun, we don't know if it fired or not because the scene ended. It ended right there. And I enjoyed this episode. There was nothing really, really bad or really, really good either, but I can say that we are closer now than we've ever been to coming off that compound. The FBI has never been closer, and it appears that all of the bad guys are gone or locked up, so there's only one thing left to do, and that's move in and rescue everybody, right? But that's the hard part. So I'm looking forward to see how it's all going to play out, especially with Andrew slowly gathering an alliance to try to stop the FBI from taking any further actions. Let me know what you guys think down in the comments below. And if you're a fan of Ruthless, go ahead and sub to this channel for more videos just like this one. Thank you so much for tuning in today, you guys, and I'm going to see you on the next one.